I meant I tap when I'm nervous, not that. Apparently I was also really busy yesterday.
Okay,
So,
I was confused, but I didn't want to judge.
but that would be more fun. So running is more than everyone thinks. Sure, if you set your mind to running a race, you can do it, but that's not the point. The training leading up to the race and everything surrounding it is an important part. That is where you change in ways you wouldn't expect. You feel pain, and instead of stopping, you continue and want to do it again. And also, the more you run, the more others think you're crazy, but then the more you run, the more you don't care if other people think you're crazy. You get to talk to others while you're running, and you have an instant bond with them. And it also makes the run feel like less work, so then you can run further and you don't even realize it, or faster. You don't get a sense of accomplishment from finishing the race that everyone thinks you might. So imagine you're running halfway through the Pittsburgh Marathon, the sun is beating down on you, you feel like you are going to melt from the sun. You look for any shade possible, and you run along the very edge of the road just to get a little bit of shade. Everyone is doing that too, even though there are thousands of people running the marathon. Then there's a fire hydrant spraying water over on the right, so you run over there just for the couple seconds to be cooled off. It's only a couple seconds, but it is well worth it. You wonder why you go through this. You're sore and tired. You keep running. You think you'll never do this again. Your hip and knee hurt. You can no longer open your stride when you're running, and you have to stop every mile to stretch out your hip. You finally keep going, and you finally finish, and then you immediately forget about all the pain you went through, and you start talking about the next time you're going to run a race. And you even wonder if you tortured yourself enough during that race to do as well as you could have. Before running, if something caused me pain, I'd want to stop right away and never do it again. But now I just think about the next time that I can have so much pain from the running. Sometimes you don't have to wait until the end of a run to feel all the pain or to do something. You just can have a temporary pause and continue on. While running recently around the Waterworks Mall, with every step, my foot had a piercing pain, and like a knife was stabbing right into me, and I kept running. 2 miles later, I mentioned it to my friends, and I didn't stop. I just kept running. I talk about it. A few miles later, we're back at the car. I take off my shoe. I have a nice blood pool there on my sock. I take off my sock. My toe's pretty bloody, but I just do what my first instinct was. Grab a Band-Aid, put it on my toe, put back on my sock and shoe, and run another 4 miles to get my 10 in that day. So that's what we wanted to do. Sometimes I think there's a very fine line between being a runner and being insane. I'm never quite sure if I crossed that line, but I think there is. And the run itself isn't the only tough part. After a long race or a long run, afterwards is usually worse. After the long run, you no longer have the adrenaline keeping you going, and then you actually feel that your muscles are very sore and fatigued. You can barely move. You don't want to walk up those stairs in the evening. The stairs are pretty tough. Then you go and you sleep, you wake up. Those first few steps are agonizing, and your quads, your hamstrings are tight. Your feet, the arches feel with pain with every step. And then your hip and knee hurt, and you feel like you're 90 years old, and you wonder why you do that. But then you think, oh, when's the next time I'm going to have a nice, good long run like that? So again, you always want to go longer and faster the next time. Even though you can barely walk, you seem to hate it, you're in pain, you feel like you're 90, you just want to keep going and do it again. And I've often heard that when you run a marathon, you get a sense of accomplishment. Like, I thought it'd be like, hey, you're winning a Nobel Prize or some huge accomplishment. But then you finish, and you're like, oh, there was no sense of accomplishment. I'm done. Now what? And you think, maybe I need a bigger and better race next time. So then you keep running, and you get lots of stuff. I didn't even bring all of these in for today. Some were just on my desk. And the previous year's worth of medals are in shadow boxes. So and I think, well, maybe I just need a better, longer run. So I've even gone up to a 50K. I started with a 5K a couple years ago. So maybe I need a 50-miler next. Because you just don't have the sense of accomplishment. You just ran this big task. You think, I should have this huge sense of accomplishment. You don't. So you keep trying. You get a sense of a relief that you're done. And maybe you're just crazy for doing it and you keep going. People think you're crazy when you keep running more races and doing them fairly close together. But during those long runs, you have a lot of time to think and realize you have time with yourself. You spend so much time just with your thoughts on the open road. It's a great stress reliever. Oh, I really need to run today. You feel so much more insightful and eloquent in your thoughts in your head, too. I often wish that I could tape it and have some speeches or write a book while I'm running, but I haven't done that. But in addition to that, when you run with someone else, you say more things when you're running with others. They share more stuff. You share more personal information, according to Jordan Chase on Dexter, Season 5, Episode 9, in case you're wondering. Intense exercise will help you open up. So, I feel like I share more with someone running than I do just sitting around with them. You run with them a couple times, and you share more than the 2 years you knew with them before that. And it's great. You're exposed while you're running, and you just keep going, and you are talking, and you learn more. I wish I knew this years ago, because I love getting closer to a person's soul, and you form a strong bond with the people you run with, and if only I knew that a while ago. So running changes you in ways you don't expect, and if you want to see what it's like to be in pain and want more of it, then you can become a runner. And don't become a runner, though, just for the sense of accomplishment in a race. And start with running with others for an almost immediate strong bond.